Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So it's the end of February, so we are going to do our top 5 favorite reads from February. So I have my 5 favorites and Mandy has her 5 favorites. You're going to get 10 recommendations, but before we start talking about those, let's talk about our giveaway that we're doing. We still have our Road to 1K giveaway going on.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have lots of things lined up, but the first giveaway that we're doing is Candy Steiner's Make Me Hate You, which is the Belle Book Box edition, so you cannot purchase this. So it has the sprayed edges, and it is signed by Candy Steiner as well. This is a book that you cannot purchase, so we will be giving this away when we hit 100 subscribers. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you leave us a comment, even if it's an emoji down below, because we can't always see who has who our subscribers are if your account is set to private. So with that, let's get started.
Let's.
So we're gonna do these in order, right? 5
yes.
to 1.
Okay. How many books did you read this month?
I read 45 this month, which is huge. How many did you read? You're laughing. How many did you read?
I read 45 too, which I'm like, I think this is the most I've ever read in a month. But be fair, I did the novella-a-thon at the beginning of the month, and I ended up reading 26 novellas.
So you did, so a lot of yours were novellas. I only did a handful. Yeah, I only did a handful of novellas, but that is awesome. That is a lot of friggin' books.
I have a good cushion now on my Goodreads goal, which makes me feel very happy. I know that it's going to go away though, because I can't sustain that, and I'm not going to keep reading novellas like that.
No. But at least having that good cushion makes you feel better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to tell me about your book number 5?
Yeah. Do you want
down to our top books of February?
Okay, so do you want me to go first? You want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, so my number 5 is going to be The Tangle of Awful by K. Webster. So I had this as an arc. It is out now though. So this is about, oh my goodness, this is a disaster. So this is about Aubrey, who returns to her stepdad's house after being gone for 2 years. She's always kind of had a thing for her stepbrother, whose name is Spencer. And but he's really mean to her. Like, something happened between them. He is a complete asshole to her. And so he like, the minute she gets there, he's cruel to her before she even gets through the door. But she develops a relationship between him and his dad Hugo. So she has a relationship with both guys. This is everything you're going to expect from a K. Webster book. There's mystery because her mom has gone missing. Hugo, the stepdad, is running for, do you remember what he was running for? For office of some kind.
Attorney General.
Attorney General, yes. He was running for Attorney General. So he needs to find out where she is, because she's gone missing. Like, she's just gone, and she's the world's worst mother, okay? She's gone missing, but yet she's still spending on her credit cards every day. He's getting these statements. So he knows that she's around. Like, they've tried to track her down and stuff. So you have that mystery of what's going on there. You have the mystery of what happened between Aubrey and Spencer when they were younger and why she left. You also, and you have the relationships. There's like a whole lot going on in this book, but it was good. It was good. It was what you expect from K. Webster. It was a little extra on the kinky side, but still, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
He also wants to keep it on the down low that she's missing, because he's running for Attorney General. So that's why he hasn't really been able to find her, because he doesn't want to alert anybody that she's missing, because he knows her cards are still active. So he's not concerned that something's happened to her. She's just not a great person. So he's trying to do all of this on the down low because of his campaign.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. It's been a little while since I read that one. Okay, so tell me about your number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is The Teacher of Nothing by K. Webster, which is just the book before this. So this is Hugo's brother, Callum, or Mr. Parks.
But they can be read as standalones.
They can, but I really enjoyed reading the first one and then reading the next one. I like that, because in the first book, they talk about how his wife is missing, and you just kind of see the family dynamics, and you kind of need a chart for this family. For the family tree.
Yes.
So Callum is in his late 30s, but he is still dealing with the pain of his father when he was in high school, stealing his girlfriend and sleeping with her and knocking her up. And she is now has been his stepmom. And he has twin siblings who attend the same high school he teaches at. And he starts to develop these weird, like, he doesn't quite understand this attraction, these feelings he's having towards one of his students, Willa, who's just kind of this shy, reserved student in his class. And he's adamant he is not going to be like his father, so he really tries hard to fight these feelings down. But Willa has a stepbrother, Levi, who he's just not a good guy, and he does some things, and Callum ends up coming to her rescue more than once in this situation. Her mom is completely checked out on life, and so it's just kind of created this interesting situation. And yeah, this is their story. And it was very good. Very good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to read it because I read the Tangle of Awful first, and I'm like, oh, I got to go back and read that. And I have the physical book. It is on my shelf.
Really?
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
You gotta read it. It's so good.
Yeah, I need to. Especially before Kay puts out another book, being, getting the arcs early, I need to. She's already talking about other books that are coming out soon. So,
yeah.
Yes. Okay, so my number 4 is Falling from the Sky by Sarina Bowen. I loved this book. So this was about Callie and Hank. And Hank is a professional snowboarder. He's like, gearing up for the Olympics. He's in I don't know if it's the Olympic trials or the pre-games that they do before the Olympics. And Callie is a doctor. And so she's actually at this event where he crashes and burns. He gets hurt really badly, actually. He becomes a paraplegic and can't feel from the waist down. Now, he talks about he does have some feeling, but he obviously cannot use his body from the waist down because, he discusses that. It's very interesting, the amount of research that probably went into this book, because I learned a lot about paraplegics in this book. So I'm really hoping it was accurate. But anyhow, so they meet the day of the accident. She's actually at the hospital, or it's the morning of, or the next day or something, but she meets him and his family. His family is very well off, and they have invested a lot of money into this town and the hospital. And so they kind of get what they want. And so his family's losing their minds about the fact that they can't get certain specialists in, or they want certain specialists to come in and give second opinions, and how he, when will he be able to walk? When is this going to happen again? And she finally just sits them down and says, look, it's going to take at least a year before we have any idea as to what is going to happen with him. It takes at least a year before you can know whether you're going to walk again or not, and kind of sets the parents straight. And so he remembers her from that. He doesn't remember her because he met her at the snowboarding competition, but he kind of remembers that. And then a year later, so then we have a little time jump to about a year later, and he's learning how to live with his disability. And his fiance has left him for somebody else, and he has a really bad night and ends up back in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. And she's the doctor then. And he decides he likes her and he wants to spend more time with her, but she won't date him because he is a patient. So he has his parents invest in the hospital in like this new study program for paraplegics, for people who are paralyzed. And he asks the hospital to have her head that up and be the lead researcher on it, or the lead doctor on this research program. And then they get to spend time together, and you kind of get where this all goes from there. So you and I both read that novella where they met on the airplane, and he was paraplegic as well.
Yes,
but it was a novella. What was it called?
The Plane.
Literally, it was called The Plane?
Yes.
I thought it was called Plain Love.
Was it Plain Love?
I think it was Plain Love.
Okay. It's very good.
It's good. It's just not enough. And they even talk about, like, when it comes to sex, like how that works and because it's not just, there's a little bit of planning that goes into it. But they didn't give enough in that book. This gave me the enough. This gave me what I needed. And so I really, really, really enjoyed this book too. Obviously,
it is Plain Love. You were right. Sorry.
Yeah. Plain Love. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But this one hit all those points and checked all those boxes that Plain Love didn't for me. So I definitely enjoyed it. Okay, so what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the Reid Rivers Trilogy by Lauren Rowe. So I'm picking all 3 books because they're all 3 books like about the same couple. It's their journey. Bad Liar is the first book. This is about Georgie and Reid. I love this world. I've enjoyed the Morgan brothers. We hear about Reid and those stories as well. He is a music Mongol. He is very closed off in his relationships. He's just kind of like always got a new woman on his arm type guy. He's been in some relationships, but he's just never really felt it. And as soon as girls are like, oh, I love you, and that sort of thing, and wanting to plan a future, he's like, good day. So Georgie is significantly younger than him by about 10 plus years, I believe. She's just graduating college, so they're in very different areas of their life. Goes to a panel discussion where Cece is going to be, who is somebody who runs a magazine, and she really, really wants to work for Cece as a journalism. She also knows Reid's going to be there, and she's hoping she can slip her stepsister, who's like her best friend, demo to him as well. And so she goes there with multiple ideas, but she does end up meeting Cece, and through a series of events, her and Reid start to develop a relationship. It is a really good story. It's hard to really talk too much about it because so much of the stuff that happens at the very beginning is kind of a spoiler for how the book is going to go. So I don't want to give too much away, but it's just a great journey of they're very different people. Georgie falls in love like at the drop of the hat. And Reid is, like I said, very closed off. So it's their story of them coming together. And it's just, I loved it. It was a great story. The books are not super long. I know some people had left some reviews about like, this could have just been one book, but it's Trilogy. It is what it is. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I saw someone explain, and I can't remember who I was watching that was explaining that whole part of the reason why independent authors break their books up is sometimes it's a money thing for them. Not like they want more money, it's that they can't afford to have a long span in between books. Like if they know they're going to write one big book, they'll break it up into 3 because financially they can't wait for the payoff. So they put it out that way a lot of the times because they are not being backed by a publisher. This is all on their own dime, and that's their income. So that makes sense when you break it up like that, if you ask me. So I mean, if that's the main motive. So yeah. Okay, so my number 3 for the month is Stolen by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd. So this is the 3rd book in her Sinners series. It's a mafia series, and each book is a different mafia couple or different, and they come from like a different mafia. Like this one is Turkish mafia, where before I know we've had like Irish and whatever. So this is about Laura. She is Polish. She and her mom came over from Poland when she was little, and they're working for the head of the Polish mafia, who is a really, really, really bad guy. Her mom had passed away when she was 12, and then she stepped up and became a maid for this guy. He is extremely cruel. Like he has a box in his office that has bullets for every single person who works for him, and their name is like etched into the bullet. And if he doesn't like you or he doesn't like what you did, he'll just shoot you. So he is a very, very bad guy. He's mean. He's abusive. When the book opens up, he's telling Laura that he wants seafood for dinner. And so she only has like less than 2 hours to get across town to his favorite seafood restaurant to pick up the seafood and then get it back home. And so she's doing that. And when she does that, she runs into literally runs into someone, like slams into his chest. Which, side note, why are their chests always like walls of concrete?
A brick wall.
Or a brick wall every single time.
Yes.
Come on. Anyhow, she slams into that brick wall. And this guy is cold and aloof, and he's like, whatever, you were in my way, and hands her cash and is like, just, take care of, go get your food again, which makes her late. So she gets whipped. And on the same night, so this turns out to be Gabriel, who is the head of the Turkish mafia. He has a beef against the guy who's the head of the Polish mafia. And so that same night, he attacks that compound, and she has been whipped within an inch of her life. And she's kind of running through the compound trying to figure out what's going on and then get away. And he accidentally shoots her. So he takes her home because he thinks he can get information out of her. when she wakes up, she doesn't know anything. But as she's there, I love it because she's been abused and she's been treated very poorly by this guy that she worked for. And when she goes into Gabriel's house, she's loved by the women who are like his head of his household and his house, like his head chef or the person who cooks for them. And they become this family to her. And she's very, she has a lot of hangups. She has a lot of issues because of that. And they're able to work, like help her heal. And we see that journey as she develops that relationship with Gabriel. But it's not Gabriel that helps her heal so much because he's cold, he's a mafia boss. It's more the family, like the found family. And I really enjoyed that part of it. So that one was number 3 for me.
All right. So my number 3 is The Choice by Ashely Jade. It is a duet, and you do not have to read the words before you read this, but I highly encourage you to read the words. It is a fantastic book. Like, it's a favorite read of mine, but it also helps us understand Skylar and Memphis, who this book is about. And there's another character who this book is mostly centered around is Josh, but it's told from Skylar and Memphis's point of view. And if you've read the words, then you know what's going to happen. And so it's really important, I think, that you read the words first before you read this book. So Memphis and Josh are in foster care. They've both had, they're in foster care, so their lives have not been great. And they finally landed in a home, and they consider each other brothers because they're all each other have. And they're in this new foster home, and they live next door to Skylar. And Memphis sees Skylar, and she's crying in the window, and he just immediately is drawn to her. But Josh ends up actually meeting Skylar first, and Skylar's living in a pretty horrific situation next door, and Josh kind of becomes Skylar's everything, and Memphis just takes a back seat, even though he feels this draw to her. And this is their teenage years, and Josh and Skylar are together, and I don't like how Josh treats Skylar, but it is what it is. Josh is hurting a lot, and he needed some serious counseling, I think. But Josh just becomes her refuge, and she sticks it out, and Memphis is just kind of the side character for a lot of this book. And it's hard to see the stuff that they all go through. And it ends not really on a cliffhanger, but kind of on a cliffhanger because you know what's eventually going to happen. And so I really want the second book. Ashely Jade has said that there's some delays in it because of different things. So there isn't a release date for the book 2 for Memphis and Skylar. And so I'm patiently waiting, but oh my gosh, The Choice was already fantastic. And I know that the next one is going to be wonderful as well. So I highly recommend The Words and The Choice.
Okay. So my number 2 is also a duet. So these ones go hand in hand. So I have Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline, which I'm going to put down hunting because these are thick books and I can't fit it all on the screen. I don't have both hands up in here, but okay. So we're going to start with Haunting Adeline. So this is about Adeline. She is an author. She lives in the Seattle area, and she has just inherited this big mansion from her grandma who's recently passed away. So she moves into that mansion and she starts to discover things. There's a hole that gets made in a wall, and she finds that it has this lockbox in it that has her great grandmother's, so her grandma's mom. It has her diary in it, and she discovers that her great grandmother, fell in love with her stalker. In the meantime, Adeline is finding, she's hearing noises. She's finding roses on her kitchen table with a note, and she's finding half drink or an empty glass from drinking whiskey, on her table or somewhere in the house, and a rose and a note. So she has developed or found herself with a stalker as well, and she'll see him outside her house every once in a while, and all she can see is somebody in a black, wearing all black with a black hoodie, pulled up over the face, and she sees him smoking, so she sees the cherry end of the cigarette. And so this is her story about, she's trying to figure out what happened to grandma, because grandma was actually murdered. The great grandma was murdered way back when her grandma was a little girl. So she's trying to discover that. There's some haunting situation going on. Guys, these are dark. Both of these, you've got to check trigger warnings. They are they're gothic romance, so they are very, very dark. And then you have the stalking going on, and we're talking serious stalking for the majority of this book. And then when you get into the second one, there's situations that have happened in the first one that led to the second one, and that is even more darker than the first one. But I know there's a lot of hype around these books, but they were so worth it. Like, I put off reading them for a very long time, but they were worth the read. So definitely go read those. But they were my number 2.
My number 2 is Ignite by Melanie Harlow. And I know this is a favorite of yours as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So this book is really just about Dex's adorable daughters. No, on a serious note. Okay. So Winnie is 22. She has like a love addiction issue. She falls in love very quickly, like planning the marriage, planning how many kids, very, very quickly. And so she has agreed with a friend of hers that she is not going to fall in love or have a relationship for, I think it was like a year. And Dex is 12 years older than her, and he moves into the condo next door to her. And he's divorced and he has 2 daughters. He's definitely like your grumpy next door neighbor guy. And the daughters actually are what kind of start the relationship there with him and Winnie. They come over and befriend Winnie, and she just finds them adorable. And she accidentally sets her smoke alarm off, and Dex is a firefighter. And he goes running over to her house to find out what's going on. And she is standing on a suitcase trying to turn the smoke alarm off. And she's just gotten out of the shower. So she's standing there with barely a towel on. He comes in, she like falls, drops the towel, and crawls to the bathroom. So this is just kind of, I mean, it's a funny book, but the girls really steal the show. His daughters roast him like every morning. He wakes up to them like giggling about his nose hairs and how much he snores and things like that. And it's just, it is hilarious. Dex really, he is very attracted to Winnie, but he's trying really hard not to fall for her. And this is just their story of how like this grumpy guy who doesn't believe in happily ever afters meets a girl who can't help falling in love. Mm-hmm. So that's my book. I loved it. It was so good. It's funny. It's romantic. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
Yeah, his daughters, those little girls really make the book. They really do. They do. They're cute. They're not obnoxious. They're cute.
Yeah, this is definitely a favorite for me.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready for my number 1? You will not be surprised, but are you ready?
I feel like I'm going to be shocked when you tell me.
Because you've heard about it all week. So, yeah. Okay, so my number 1 is Unseen Messages by Pepper Winters. I know, right?
Shocking.
I know. This is going down in like in my top 5 all-time favorite books. I am loving this book so much. I had to like immediately jump into a different book so I didn't have a book hangover. So this is it's a thicker book. It is one of Pepper Winters' only standalones. She doesn't have a lot of standalones. This is about Estelle. So Estelle's best friend put out a video. She's a singer-songwriter, and Estelle's best friend put a video out on YouTube, and she went viral and she made it big. And so she is from Australia, but she is in the US touring because of that event. And so she's on her way home. She's just signed a recording contract. And so she's on her way home to do that. So the flight goes from LA to Fiji, then Fiji to Sydney. And so when she's in LA, she meets a couple different people. So she meets Galloway, who is this guy who is heading to one of the other islands in Fiji because he's going to help build. He's an architect, and he's going to help build houses for low-income families. And so he's going to do that. And she notices right away how attractive he is, and they kind of see each other on the plane, and he sees her and he thinks she's cute, but really he's got some hangups of his own, so he's pretty standoffish. And then we also meet a family, and this family has the same last name as Estelle, so everybody thinks they're traveling together. And it's a husband and wife, and a son who's I think he's 12, and then a little girl who is 7. And so this book is about the messages that we see along the way and ignoring those messages, because we have messages every day that tell us, you know, what's going on. And as she's getting to the airport, like her ticket wouldn't work, like it had been canceled, so they had to reinstate it. And as she's going through TSA, she had some issues. And then as she's trying to get on board the plane, there was some it wouldn't let her on because of issues. And she talks about if she just paid attention to the messages that she wasn't paying attention to along the way, would she have been able to avoid what happens? Because along the way, they crash on an island in Fiji. And this is their survival story. And I was so sucked into this book. Like, there was a part of me that really wanted to go to the epilogue to see if they ever made it off the island. But I kept slapping myself going, no, you don't want to spoil this book for yourself. I did see a video from Pepper Winter. She talks about how a lot of the events that happened at the beginning of this book actually happened to her and her husband as they were coming home from, I think it was a tour in the US. And she went through the same kind of things. And, you know, ignoring those messages. And so a lot of the stuff that you see in the first few chapters of the book, she went through. And so that was a very interesting little video to watch. But there was the thing with this one is they're not, you know, if you read survival romances every once in a while, like one of the guys will be like, this big survival expert or whatever. That's not what happens in this thing. Or like, have you ever read a book where they're, you know, stranded on an island and they're like, oh, so we found this lagoon? No, you don't have that either. They have to pull things from out of nowhere.
I have only read one where they get stranded on an island, and it's called Family Caruso, I think.
Okay.
And the theme of the book has very little to do with survival.
Yeah, see? No, this one is all about their
survival. It's a wild read.
Yeah, this one's all about the survival. I'm not going to tell you who ends up on the island. I think going into this a little blind as much as possible, because I went into it very blind. All I knew is somebody had asked in one of my reader groups for a Blue Lagoon type book recommendation, and I had read a book earlier in the month that just did not cut it for me. It just did not do it. And so this one was highly recommended, and I jumped on it, and oh my gosh. Like they have nothing. When they land, they don't have anything, and they have to make it all work. And the island itself does not provide a lot of nutrients and things for them. They have to figure it out. And they're not survival experts, so they don't know. And Estelle has to do a lot of it because of injuries. It's all on her shoulders to start. So very, very, very good. All-time favorite.
To read that one.
Yeah, it's really good. So unfortunately, no audio for it, but that's okay. So, okay, tell me about your number one.
My number one book is called Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this is on audio. It is a novella, so I find it interesting that it is my top February read, but I love this book. So it is a series of letters from Carrie to David, and then David also writes Carrie back, but Carrie starts writing David because she discovers a letter that his wife wrote her husband, which leads her to believe that they are having an affair. And this starts in the 70s. So this is why there's letter writing happening here. And this is the most complete book ever. It is a novella, but you get everything in this. And when the book ends, I just sat there with I'm sure my jaw was hanging open. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. This book was like everything. And I don't want to give anything away other than what I've already told you. Like, you know what the book is about. It's a novella, so it's not a huge commitment to go read it, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. So I highly encourage everyone to go read this. It is phenomenal. And then please message me, send me an email at bestiebookreviews@gmail.com and tell me what you thought. Because I really want to talk to somebody about this, but I don't want to give any spoilers on here. But it is everything, and it's a novella. So Taylor Jenkins Reid, how do you write like this? How do you write such a powerful book that left me? I mean, I read this at the beginning of the month, and I still think about this book. And I read a lot. So for me to still be thinking about a book almost a month later, that's impressive, because I can tell you I read a book yesterday and I don't know if I could tell you the characters' names off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yes. Pretty much. Yeah. Okay, guys, so that is our top 5 reads each, top 10, for the month. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can be entered into our Road to 1K giveaway. And what else do we need to tell them, Mandy?
Make sure you check back Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
And until then,
go read.